Countdown. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. It's still Christmas, and I hope you're all enjoying the holiday season. And I'm trying to keep my weight down, but I made some homemade broccoli casserole the other day, and I just couldn't quite get enough of it. It's not exactly the ideal thing to eat for breakfast, but it is what I do. So there's always the new year. All right. As I said, welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. Something sad happened yesterday, and that was the death of South African Anglican Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who fought against Apartheid. Here is a video, basically, kind of reporting, but also stating what happened. Basically it's a tribute to Desmond Tutu. Very fitting. So, with no further ado, as I like to always say, here we go.
Tributes have poured in from around the world for South Africa's Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who has died at the age of 90. Archbishop Tutu was a Nobel Peace Prize laureate and was considered as one of the driving forces behind the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. The former US President Barack Obama described him as a mental and moral compass, while Boris Johnson said he would be remembered for his spiritual leadership. Our Africa correspondent Andrew Harding looks back at his life.
Raise our hands and we say, we will be free!
Desmond Tutu was an exuberant figure, an outspoken Anglican priest who became one of the world's great moral voices. It was during South Africa's long and violent struggle against white minority rule that he rose to prominence, condemning the apartheid government, comparing them to the Nazis.
The system of this country, apartheid, is immoral. The system of this country is evil.
With Nelson Mandela hidden away in prison, Tutu soon became the face of South Africa's struggle for freedom and for justice.
He leaves behind a legacy, one of the last of the generation of people who told us that apartheid was wrong and stood up for human rights everywhere. And he never stopped doing that.
In 1994, Tutu was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and used his global platform to criticize Britain and America for being too soft on the apartheid government. Eventually, Mandela was released, but the advent of democracy presented Tutu with new challenges in a country that he now dubbed the Rainbow Nation. Often in tears, Tutu presided over South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, seeking to expose and to heal the wounds of apartheid. He specialized in forgiveness, but with accountability. And that pursuit of justice continued, especially when South Africa's democratic politicians plunged into corruption.
I am warning you that we will pray as we prayed for the downfall of the apartheid government. We will pray for the downfall of a government that misrepresents us.
Inevitably, Desmond Tutu made enemies, but his genius was for winning people over. You could say, for provoking love.
He said to me once that when he dies, he hopes the epitaph will be very clear. That Desmond Tutu loved, he laughed, he cried. And that's what he was. He was always a man of tremendous joy.
The one thing that helps Desmond Tutu stand out and occupy this unique place in South African history is that he was there at every step of the way through this country's tortuous journey from apartheid to democracy and beyond. With that clear, moral, often angry, sometimes laughing voice, a man defined above all by his sense of hope.
Well, flags will fly at half-mast across South Africa, and a week of tributes is being organised to remember Archbishop Tutu. His funeral will take place on the 1st of January. Many South Africans have been gathering outside his homes in Cape Town and Soweto to lay wreaths and light candles. Our correspondent, Nomsa Maseko, reports from Soweto.
Paying their last respects. People from all walks of life dropped off flowers here at Desmond Tutu's Soweto home, demonstrating what the 90-year-old stood for. He was the voice of reason, the face of reconciliation, and South Africa's moral compass.
It's a dark day to us as South African because he's the light and the icon of this country.
He used to be a father to us. His wife used to be a mother to us.
It was Desmond Tutu, known affectionately as the Arch, who coined the phrase Rainbow Nation to describe South Africa's ethnic diversity.
More than any other, sometimes when you have some problems, you just go in him and then he'll just give you a prayer, and then we go to the chapel and he will pray for us every day when we have problems.
Several memorial services are expected to be held in honor of Desmond Tutu over the next few days. For people here in Soweto, they remember the Arch as a unifying figure who played a prominent role in South Africa becoming a democracy.
Flowers were laid in Cape Town too, where he died at his home surrounded by family and friends. A 7-day send-off is being planned, including a lying in state and a mass to be held by the Anglican Church. Nomsa Maseko, BBC News, Soweto.
Well, there you have it. At the age of 90, Archbishop Desmond Tutu died. A voice for racial equality and a voice for justice for all people. And it was definitely a sad day yesterday. Ironically, on the day of Saint Stephen the Martyr, which is on the 26th of December. But anyway, the death of Desmond Tutu, and you think about religious leaders who tried to make a positive difference in the world. I mean, and not that I want to be, cynically partisan or engage in culture war crap that's been with us for the past 40 years. But people like John Hagee, people like Pat Robertson, and people like Jerry Falwell, the usual suspects. What I would call the religious right. These people, what they have done over the years, certainly did not contribute to equality of people, but demonize whole groups of people in the population, and remember a lot of these people, like for example, Jerry Falwell was preaching segregation back in the 1960s. For example, contrast that with Desmond Tutu in South Africa fighting apartheid, But the best way to describe Desmond Tutu, he was essentially their Martin Luther King. This Baptist preacher from the South that fought for racial equality. And I'm going to tell you, in spite of the racial problems and racial tensions that happens here in the United States today, it's what Martin Luther King done was largely successful. Was largely successful. We have a long ways to go toward racial justice. We traveled a long way, but we have a long ways to go. And unfortunately, there's been some steps taken back by demagogic politicians in this country that focuses too much on what they think America first is and making America great should be. And unfortunately, with that mentality, it's going to be with us always. And that, as I said, that's an unfortunate fact. But as I said, there will always be people like Desmond Tutu, South Africa, and Martin Luther King leading the way toward justice. And we need to remember that justice will get there one day. And it's just a matter of actually making it there and going through the impasse while it happens. So anyhow, getting back to Archbishop Tutu. Well, what I have to say is that, as I said, he led the moral struggle to end apartheid, and he was the spokesman while Nelson Mandela was in prison for, I believe, 27 years. I think it was it's like 63. He was put in prison, and in 1990 he was freed from prison. And people, I remember with regard to Nelson Mandela, I mean, how there were those here in the United States that were upset that he was released from prison. And so they go and making up this, things like, well, Nelson Mandela, he idolized Muammar Gaddafi and Yasser Arafat and Fidel Castro. This charge was brought up by the right wing 30 years ago. And Michael Kinsley, who's not all that great today like I used to think he was back then. He was then the editor of the New Republic, but he did brilliantly respond. While the United States basically was not doing anything to stop apartheid, you had Fidel Castro, you had Yasser Arafat, you had Muammar Gaddafi that was supporting the cause. And so he's not going to refuse help. And the problem was the United States should have taken the moral high road, and whatever you want to say about these three gentlemen, they're no longer with us on this planet, for better or worse. I mean, they were correct on taking on apartheid, and the United States was dead wrong. So I mean, and anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that Desmond Tutu was one of the strong leaders of the movement while Nelson Mandela was in prison. And the thing about Desmond Tutu is that he was, South Africa is the only country in the continent right now today where same-sex marriage is legal, and Desmond Tutu was a leader in that happening. Desmond Tutu has always spoken out on issues of the voiceless, those who are in poverty, those who are disenfranchised in any way, in a lot of ways in our society and in the world. And he's been a spokesman for that kind of justice to lead us toward the road toward social and economic equality, along with racial equality and all of that. So it's definitely a sad day for Desmond Tutu's death yesterday. He will be missed. I think he was one of the great leaders for justice, definitely for sure in the 20th century. So anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say right now. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree with what I have to say, comment anyway. We will certainly have a conversation. As a First Amendment absolutist, I say share the content on this channel, but also create your own channel, because we're all the muckrakers of our time. And feel free to also subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, help it make it grow. And until next time, remember, let's focus on class warfare to start off the year 2022. Let's focus on racial equality, and let's focus on everything that's good about each and every one of us. So until next time, I am Willie Bragg, and hope to see y'all again for another edition of the Willie Bragg Show, hosted by yours truly, Willie Bragg.